The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marissa Snook, and I am the Most Program Administrator over at CoreCubed. And it is 2 o'clock on my clock, so I wanted to go ahead and get started with our SEO Live Website Critiques webinar. Will Chatham, who is the web manager at CoreCubed, is going to be leading this webinar and going through the websites that you guys have given us permission to critique on this call and giving some tips on search engine optimization and how to better those websites. Will, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, I'll let you go ahead and take it away.
All right, thank you. Welcome, everybody. What we're going to do today is I'm going to start with a brief overview of search engine optimization, what that means, and some of the basic ground rules for making your website friendly so that the search engine can find your website and find all the content that is on it. And I'm going to go over some of the best practices and some things to do and some things not to do as far as that goes. Then we're going to start taking a look at the websites that you've submitted. We got quite a few links submitted to us, and I can't promise that we're going to get to all of them today, but we're going to try to get to as many of them as we can. So let me just dive in here.
Oh, well, you know what I forgot to mention is if anybody has any questions, whether it's when Will's looking at your website or at somebody else's site, you can ask questions via that little question box that's near your right-hand side. Type those in, and I will make sure that Will answers those for you.
Yes. Feel free to interrupt me at any time if you have any questions. So a little bit about what search engine optimization is. The definition of it is the process of maximizing the number of visitors to a website by ensuring that the site remains high on the list of results returned by a search engine. And what that means is that the overall goal of search engine optimization is to drive traffic to your website. And by doing that, you want to be listed at the closest to the top of search engine results as possible for given keywords. Keywords are what people actually type into the search engines such as Google or Yahoo or Bing to find something. And you would obviously want to optimize your website for certain keywords that would drive people to your site to find your services. And those keywords would relate to what your company does, what services you offer, what products you sell, that sort of thing. Another kind of definition for search engine optimization is that it is a continual evolving set of best practices for building and maintaining a website, which will increase the likelihood that search engines will give you better placement in the search results. And search engine optimization is definitely not a set it and forget it kind of endeavor. You can't really just do one thing and to your website and then forget about it for a while. If you want to continue to rank well in the search engines and you want to see your rankings improve, it really takes some ongoing optimization efforts from month to month or week to week or in order to see your results. And it also involves measuring those results, and it's important to have certain measuring tools installed so that you can see how well changes you've made or see how that's affecting the traffic to your website and see if more people are coming or perhaps make decisions on whether or not you need to make some other changes. So the big picture here is that search engine optimization is a cumulative process. There are many different things you can do to optimize your website and to help drive traffic to your website. Some of them may not seem like something that Google would or that you're doing to directly impact your search results in Google, but the overall picture here again is to drive traffic to the website, which in turn helps your search engine optimization. Anything from tweaking some code on your website to adding a video or creating a blog post with certain keywords in it. All of those things can combine together and help a overall search engine optimization strategy. Anything you can do to create a buzz about your website will help this, and that includes getting other people to link to your website, especially other people, other websites that are similar to yours. Anything that you can do with social media to get your name and your brand recognized and encourage people to visit your website, which in turn encourages people to build links to your website. And blogging and article writing and that sort of thing, posting resources on your website, anything people would want. You have to give them a reason to want to come to your website and a reason to return to your website, and create a kind of a persona that people look to you to be an expert in your field, or that sort of thing, so that you become a valuable asset on the internet, and people will in turn want to link to you. And all of those things, again, in turn, will help your overall positioning in the search engines. Some detailed stuff about search engine optimization basics here. And I'm going to talk about these a little bit more in depth as we start diving into people's websites and looking at them. But in general, it's important to have a clean, professional-looking website. Not only does it impact the visitors to your website, but it can also help the search engines find your website and find the content on your website that is important to be found. And that content would be things such as the keywords in the text of your pages, some of the certain tags in your HTML code, such as your meta description tags and your meta title tags. And I'll explain those a little bit more later as well. But the general rule of thumb here is that if a website is easy for a person to use, it's going to be easier for the search engines to use. And you want to make sure that the code that the website is coded in is clean and it's not convoluted, that it's relatively modern, that you have separated what's known as the style of the website, things like a background color or a border to a box, that sort of thing. That needs to be taken out of your web page's HTML code and put into an external CSS file, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets. This can seem pretty like complicated stuff, but it might make more sense once we dive in here to the website reviews. But again, inbound links is one of the most important things that search engines factor into how well or where you fall in their rankings. When your site has a bunch of inbound links, and those links are from related sites and they're from trusted websites, that is pretty much the biggest thing you can do to get better positioning in the search engine. So thinking about how you can get people to link to your site is very important. Defining some keywords and deciding what keywords to optimize your website for is important. And that can be a process that takes some time to do, and it definitely takes some measuring of results to see if what you're optimizing for is working or not, and then refining your keyword strategy over time. And in order to do that, you can use certain tools out on the internet that allow you to see what kinds of keywords people are actually searching for, and whether or not you're going to be wasting your time trying to optimize for a keyword that someone rarely ever searches for, versus optimizing your website for a keyword that people tend to use more often than not. So for example, if your website sells dog food, let's say, and you have a storefront in Miami, Florida, this is my favorite example, you would want to optimize your website for keywords such as dog food in Miami, versus optimizing your website for something that no one would really search for, such as dog food for my poodle named Fred. No one would really search for that, so you don't want to waste your time optimizing for that kind of keyword. You want to find the keywords that have high amounts of volume and optimize your site for those. There are some HTML tags that you need to make sure are optimized, the title and description tag, and that those have the keywords that you've targeted to be useful for your website. You want to make sure that the text on your website contains some of these keywords as well. And there's definitely a fine balance that you need to figure out between overusing keywords on your website and not using them enough. And again, using the metrics and the measuring tools to find out what's working and what's not is a great way to find that balance. It's important to get set up with some of the free services that the search engines are providing, such as Google Places, which allows you to create a profile page in Google Places for your company or business. And then it's just another way to get people's eyeballs to your website. You've probably seen some of the Google Places search results when you do a search for a local business or something like that. The places usually have a map associated with them, and they're listed at the top of the search engine pages these days. So it's important to get set up with these services to authenticate your business and have your profile page and keep it up to date. And Google also offers some tools for measuring traffic, such as Google Analytics, which will allow you to find out how many people are coming to your website and what keywords they are using to find you and that sort of thing. And it's a really good tool to use and to be able to determine what's working search engine optimization-wise and what's not working. They also offer some other tools, such as Google's Webmaster Tools, which allow you to basically authenticate your website with Google, and Google will say, we found some problems here. Here's some broken links. Here's some bad HTML code you need to fix. These are things that we would have trouble with when we're indexing the content on your site. So it's a good service. They basically tell you how to fix some of the problems with your website to make sure that they can find all the content and index it and increase your chances of being higher in the search engine results. And then friendly URLs, which I'll talk about more in a few minutes as well. That refers to the actual address of your website. You want to make sure that it's easy for people to remember and sometimes even contain a keyword or two that's important for your business. And that in turn can help your search engine rankings as well. So what I'm going to cover today, I'm going to talk a little bit about how the actual design of your website can play a role in search engine optimization, and that is how it actually looks and why that's important to make sure that it looks good, and how that relates to search engine optimization. Some methods to attract visitors, ways to have them return and keep them as long as possible, techniques to encourage people to link to you. We're going to take a look at some of the code on some of these websites, and unfortunately we're not really going to be able to cover current search engine placement or current inbound links and keyword strategies for these sites, just because that would be pretty difficult to get into in such a venue here. But we're going to definitely talk in depth about some useful tools and strategies here for your website. So with that, let me one second here. Sorry, I had my screen on pause there. I did not know that. Okay. Okay, so the first website that we had submitted to us was this Home Instead Senior Care. And the URL that was submitted to us was actually homeinstead.com /NEPA. And when I typed that into the web browser, I found that it redirected me to this much longer URL here. It's homeinstead.com /456/pages/homeinsteadseniorcare.aspx. That is an example of an unfriendly URL. And I think what's going on here is that this website is actually part of a umbrella parent company website, which is at homeinstead.com. And this would be the parent company's webpage. And then from here you can find a local home care provider within the Home Instead Senior Care Network. The disadvantage here is that this website, Home Instead for Northeast Pennsylvania, does not have a URL that is associated with it alone. You're kind of falling under the umbrella of the parent organization, and that's going to put you at a distinct disadvantage as far as search engine optimization goes, because anything you do to try to optimize these pages is going to it might conflict with some of the optimization on the other parts of this website. And it's not really going to define you as a distinct website. My recommendation here would be to keep this if you need to or want to, but also to buy a new URL and create a new website if possible, if your parent organization would let you do that. That would let you take advantage of many different things for search engine optimization, specifically tailoring your website to Northeast Pennsylvania. It does look like you have some ability here maybe to edit some of the meta tags, or someone does, maybe at the parent organization, like the meta title tag, which is what shows up here at the very tip top of the web browser. This says Home Instead Senior Care, Clark Summit, Pennsylvania. That's great. That's a great meta tag. I would actually change that a little bit just to kind of target a couple more keywords most likely, such as home care and senior care in Clark Summit, PA, something that people are more likely to actually type into a search engine. But this is a good start for sure. But again, if possible, this would have much more importance if it were possible to put this all on its own website. Have a website dedicated to the Northeast Pennsylvania location of Home Instead, and be able to take advantage of all that has to offer. As I was browsing through the pages, I noticed that they all have this kind of unfriendly format here. And I call it, I'm saying friendly and unfriendly, and that's just a term that people, web designers and web developers use, search engine strategists use. This is unfriendly because it's hard to remember. And if it's hard for people to remember, it's going to be harder for the search engines to figure out and to decide what means what. So an example of a friendly URL here would be something like homeinstead.com/home care services. And that can be changed both through the page name here, the actual file name, which is inhomecareservices.aspx, but the better way to change it would actually be with the web host, the company that is providing the hosting for this website. And with this being part of the parent company here, you're probably not going to be able to take advantage of that. They have it set up this way because they're probably using some database-driven tool to provide sub-sites for all of their franchisees. Another thing I noted here on the home page of this animation over here looks nice, but it's done in what's called Adobe Flash. You may have heard of that before, which is a tool that's used to create animations and interactive things on the internet. But the problem with this is that all of the content that we're looking at here is invisible to search engines. The search engines cannot see inside of Adobe Flash. So what we're reading, to us, it's personal. Read more about in-home care services. All of this text is invisible to the search engines because it's inside and it's hidden inside an Adobe Flash animation. So my recommendation would be to take this Flash and turn it into actual HTML elements, maybe buttons, maybe with some text overlaid on top of them. That would let the search engines actually find this text, and you could actually include some keywords in here, which would help keyword weight on your pages. A quick look here at the actual source code of the web page, and this is the code that the page is coded in, and this is what the search engine actually sees when it comes to your website. It's really important to have this as clean as possible. There are ways to extract a lot of this stuff. All this stuff here is JavaScript. This can be taken out and put into an external file so that the search engine doesn't have to wade through all of that stuff. It's still wading through things before it actually finds anything. We're still going here. This is a lot of stuff that's behind the scenes going on. And the first thing that the search engine is going to find that's really of any use is not until we get down pretty far down the page, it looks like. Yeah, there's a lot of code here. All of this JavaScript that's included within the HTML tags. This is done in a kind of an older school way of coding web pages. And it's not until we get all the way down here, almost 2/3 of the way down the page, over halfway down the page, that we actually see some text that the search engine's looking for to crawl and to index. And here it is, this text here. I want to thank you for your services. I was pleased and at ease. And if you look back here on the website, that looks like a testimonial of some sort. It's right here. I want to thank you for your services. So that's the first thing the search engine actually gets to. You want to make sure, if possible, whenever you're coding a website, or the person that is coding your website knows to reduce as much as possible the amount of stuff that the search engine has to wade through before it actually finds some text on your website to index. And search engine, let me just talk about that again for a minute. Search engines send out what are called spiders that crawl the internet, and they're actually little scripts that visit web pages, and they crawl through the code on the web pages looking for keywords and text. And these spiders can visit your site frequently, as often as every day, or kind of infrequently, as often as, or as rarely as once a month or once every few months. It just kind of depends on a number of factors, but keeping your website updated and adding content to it and stuff like that can help the search engine spiders return more frequently. So when they do get to your website, it is important that they can find the links and the text as quickly as possible, and there's not a lot of extra code here for them to get tripped up on. So I would focus on this website. I would focus on finding a unique domain name, rebuilding it under its own website, and then making sure it's coded in a very clean and easy to navigate through manner for the search engine spiders. Do we have any questions on this one, Marissa?
No questions yet.
Okay. Hopefully I'm not going too fast or getting too technical here, but some of this is kind of technical stuff, and I'll try to explain it as simply as possible. The next site we're going to look at is Cloud9, another home care agency. Again, the first thing I noticed on this site was this Flash animation here. And it looks nice, but you're losing this content. It's hidden, all of this text. This needs to be put into something that search engines can see, because it's hidden from the search engines, and you're losing out on an opportunity there. You might want to think about using a slideshow just for the pictures, and then having some text over here that the search engines can see. And a good way to check to see if text is viewable or not is if you can drag and highlight text on the page, that means the search engines are going to be able to find it. But if I try to do that up here, it doesn't let me, because that's not actually text. It's more like an image. We can read it, but the search engines cannot. Something I've read just from a design perspective, something that can matter in shaping people's opinions about your company and your services is the use of stock photography. And it looks like this image of this operator here with the headset on is a stock photography image. And studies have actually shown that stock photography can reduce people's opinions of a company. They like to see actual people. They like to see the people that work there, who they're going to be talking to, who they're going to be relating with. These pictures over here in the Flash animation are great for that. These look like genuine pictures, maybe happy clients or some of the people that work for this company. I would definitely replace this stock photography image with that sort of thing. And again, that helps the overall image of your website or of your company to your visitors, and that in turn can increase the likelihood that they will A, buy your services, but B, also be more likely to come back or to refer other people to you, or to create a link to your website, and that's the overall goal here. tags up here I was noticing, up at the very top of the browser again. These are kind of a little bit too long, I would think. You don't want to, in general, the rule of thumb for a title tag is 65 characters. You want to keep it under 65 characters, and that would include spaces. And I would put the more important keywords first in the title tag, so that maybe you could rearrange this to say something like home care for seniors in Idaho Falls. All the rest of this stuff is about your company, and some people might think that that's necessary, but really what you want up here are your main keywords and the things that people are going to search for. If I were looking, if I lived in Idaho Falls and I wanted to find out about home care for my mother, for example, I would go to Google and type in home care providers in Idaho Falls. So that's what you would want to have up here. You want to think like your potential clients would think and optimize these title tags accordingly. Something else you want to make sure you're doing is making sure that these title tags are unique on every page of your site. You don't want to reuse the same title tags. So looking for care, the Cloud9 agency, looking for care. You could definitely use some better keywords in here, such as home care services, because this page is kind of about what services you offer and that sort of thing. So home care services in Idaho Falls. This next page, why Cloud9? The Cloud9 agency, why Cloud9? No one's really going to be searching for why Cloud9 in Google. They would definitely be searching for, adult care or home care or senior care in your city, and those would be keywords you'd want to use in these title tags. You want to kind of relate them. Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you quick a second because I had somebody asked a question about those title tags at the top about how to view them. I assume there's no special settings to view them. You just have a website up right now.
Right.
And to edit them, how would somebody edit those?
Okay, good question. The title tag shows up at the top of the web browser. I'm using a web browser called Firefox, and I'm on a Mac computer, so it might look a little bit different if you're on a Windows computer or you're using a different web browser such as Internet Explorer. But all web browsers will show the title tag in the bar up here at the top. And that's where you can look to see what pages have what title tags. And to edit those, you would actually need to be able to edit the source code of your website. And the title tags are usually up here towards the top of the web page. And as you can see here, title. This is the line, the Cloud9 agency, why Cloud9? And that's what's showing up here on the top of the web browser. So you'd need to be able to edit the HTML files, or some web servers might have files called .asp or .php or .htm. You need to be able to edit those files or have a web designer do it for you. If you're using a content management system such as WordPress or Joomla or Expression Engine, a lot of times they'll allow you to edit these title tags through the WordPress interface, for example, which is a little bit easier than having to go in and actually edit the HTML code and find that stuff. So it kind of depends what your site's built on, how it was made, as to where you would edit the title tags, but this is what it looks like in the actual code, and it appears up here in the top of the web browser. Hopefully that answers the question. So let's see here. I had a couple more notes on this site. I went to the blog, which is down here. A blog is a great tool for creating content that is relevant and showing your expertise, and it gives you a chance to have a voice about whatever it is you're doing or selling, or your products. So it's also a great way to keep your website fresh and to have constantly updated content. In turn, that will bring the search engine spiders back to your website more frequently. Let's, for example, if you're doing a blog post a week, for example, that can increase the likelihood that the search engines are going to come back to your website weekly to find out what else has changed and what's new, so it can find that content. And it likes it when websites are kept fresh and updated and have new stuff. So a blog is also a great tool to bring people back to your website. You can create a blog post, for example, this blog post about Aging Gracefully, was an article written by Julia Barr on May 9th. So this kind of thing is great because when you write this, you can then go to your Facebook page and your Twitter feed and say, hey, I just wrote a new article about food for thought about aging gracefully for seniors. And that will hopefully drive traffic to your website, and then people will come here and say, oh, this is a good article. I'm going to bookmark this. I'm going to save this, or I'm going to link to it from my blog or my Facebook page because I thought it was interesting. And that is the foundation for building the traffic to your website and the inbound links. And blogs are a great way of doing that. It's also great when you encourage people to participate in a discussion. Blogs will often have the ability for people to post a comment and respond to what you've said. And that can create discussions and ongoing discussions and return visits to your website. And it fosters a little community on your website. And those are great tools for search engine optimization because it helps build that overall picture of driving more traffic to your website. I did notice there were a few problems with this blog when I went to actually post a comment. Oh, it's working now. That's great. It wasn't working for me when I looked at that yesterday. But I was getting an error, I think. But it looks that may have just been something temporary.
Well, I had somebody ask if it was okay to lift material out of links or emailed information that comes to them from suppliers on their blogs.
You would have to check with the suppliers on that. One thing blogs will do, which is typically fine, is if you see something else on the internet that you want to talk about, you can quote, provide little quotes from the other website or the other content or the email, but you definitely need to not copy the whole thing. There's definitely some copyright laws you need to be aware of. You can't just blatantly copy other people's websites or other people's articles and put them on your own. You definitely need to attribute, give credit to whoever wrote it and that sort of thing, and provide a link to their site. It's not the there are definitely copyright issues that you need to be aware of if you're creating blogs. But
I think you had also mentioned to me at one point that if you copy too much text from something else that's on the web, that it could have search engine optimization ramifications.
Yeah, that can create problems with duplicate content. And if a search engine finds, for example, let's say that this paragraph on this website was copied on 10 other websites or 20 other websites, and they were all similar to Cloud9 or had Cloud9's name involved somehow or other, the search engines might look at that and think that you're trying to game the search engines in some way, and think that you're trying to get better position through the use of kind of shady search engine optimization tactics. So you want to be careful about duplicate content in that regard. And you want to make sure that what you're writing is, you're not copying too much from other websites, in other words. And again, that also not only for copyright issues, but for duplicate content issues as well. The danger is that if Google thinks you're trying to get a leg up on your competition through shady tactics, they can blacklist you, and no one will be able to find your website at all. You won't appear anywhere in Google anymore. And you want to be sure that doesn't ever happen to you. Something else I kind of check for on websites when looking at search engine optimization is how are they set up for 404 errors. And if I were to type just a fake page here that doesn't actually exist on this website, which was this HGF, it returns me to a page on the website that just says the page the page you're looking for couldn't be found, which is fine. That's great for the visitor to the website. That lets them know that the page is not real. But if you actually look at what the web server is saying to the web browser, and through the use of certain tools, you can look at the actual response. When my web browser made a request to the web server for that fake page, the web server gave it this response, 200, okay. That makes the web browser think that it actually is a page. But you want to make sure that your website is set up so that when pages are fake, this is not a 200 OK, that this is actually a 404 page not found error. And that will tell the search engines that this page is actually not real and to ignore it. The danger here is that, where did my page go? There it is. The danger here is that if you had a evil competitor or somebody that was spiteful for some reason, they could create a fake link here, such as idahocloud9.com/fake link, and then take that and start putting it all over Facebook or putting it all over their website and spamming it across the internet. And that's going to take people to a page not found error, and the search engines are not going to realize that that's fake at all because of that 200 OK response that the web server is giving. That may be a little complicated to understand, but in short, you need to make sure that your 404 errors are OK. So let's see here. I also noticed that the Facebook and the Twitter buttons aren't actually going anywhere. They're not working. And just an overall thing to make sure on every website and every web page is that all the links are working all the time, so that you don't have any potential issues, and the search engines don't like finding links that don't work. That can have a negative impact on things. Any more questions about this site?
Yes, I did have a few. Somebody asked if text on top of images would be invisible to search engines the same way that Flash is invisible to search engines.
Yes, it actually is. If there's text in an image, it too is invisible to the search engines. Now you can have what's called alt text for your images, and let's see. Let's just take a look here and see if this one has that. Like here's the Facebook image that we were just looking at. This little this little Facebook icon right here. The actual tag in the HTML is right here for that Facebook icon. And as you can see, the alt text is empty. Now what you would want to do is make sure that that said Facebook, or link to our Facebook page, or follow us on Facebook. That to have alternate text in there, the search engine would see that and recognize that as an alternative for this image. So that can be a way to kind of deal with images having text in them. But when you have a Flash movie such as this, it tends to have a lot more text, and you can't really cram all that into an alt tag, and Flash makes it harder to do that kind of thing anyway. Okay. Another question on this site?
Someone wondered if you could talk a little bit about Google location SEO optimization.
Okay. Let me get to a couple of the other websites first. That's kind of a different subject altogether, but Google location services, you would definitely, that involves the Google places and making sure Google knows the address of your company, that you have a profile set up in Google Places, that it knows where you are, it can find you on the map and that sort of thing. And you can set all those coordinates, and you can set, what shows up when people find you on a map in your Google profile once that's created. But yeah, that's kind of a whole other realm, and actually might be a good webinar topic for a future webinar, because there's a whole lot we could go into on the Google location services and Google Places. Okay. Anything else for this website before I move on?
That was it for questions on this one.
Okay. The next one is Ivory House Help Services. I noticed that this website is running on WordPress, which is great. WordPress is a content management tool that you can build a website upon to make it easier to update your website and to add pages and add text and do blogging and posting content. without having to know much about HTML code or any of the behind-the-scenes stuff. One thing, however, I also noticed was in the source code, this site's running on WordPress 3.0.1, which is an older version of WordPress, and that version actually has a security vulnerability in it. You need to get your web designer, your web person, or whoever, or if you know how, go in, log into WordPress and run the automatic upgrade so that you're up to date with the most current version of WordPress, which I believe is 3.2 or 3.1.3 or something like that. But it should update you and get you secure so that you're not vulnerable to your website potentially getting hacked. I would do that as soon as you can. The advantage to WordPress is it has a lot of search engine optimization basics covered out of the box. So when you build a website in WordPress, you're getting a lot of great stuff to optimize your site for the search engines, such as friendly URLs. You can enable those. For example, if I click on agencies, that page seems to be down. Let me go back here and click on something else. Okay, so I clicked on for caregivers, and as you notice up here, this URL is much more friendly than some of the other ones we were looking at earlier. Assets for caregivers. If you click on for home care needs, it changes to for home care needs. And you're not getting extra stuff you don't need. You're not getting, .html, .aspx, things that are harder to remember. And you're also able to get keywords into your URLs up here because these are very friendly to use and easier to remember. And the search engines like to see these keywords associated with the pages and what's on the pages. So that's one thing WordPress offers. It also offers a great blogging platform with the ability to post comments and to keep your website up to date and relevant and posting fresh content. Again, that helps people come back to your website. It helps encourage them to come back to your website, and it helps search engines come back to your website more frequently. I did notice that on the home page of this website, the title tag is simply Ivory House Health Services. You might want to consider adding your location in there, adding some of your top targeted keywords, such as home care or home health. That's definitely something you want to take advantage of. I also noticed that in the code, you are using a WordPress plugin, a plugin meaning a tool that can be added to WordPress to extend its functionality. The plugin is called the All-in-One SEO Pack, which is a good tool for helping to optimize your website for search engine optimization. But it doesn't look like the tool has been configured very well, just based on some of these title tags that I noticed throughout the website. So you might want to have your web person go in and set up the Ultimate SEO or All-in-One SEO plugin in more detail so that it's taken advantage of and it's not just sitting there. Again, on this website, I think the Twitter link is taking you to a non-existent Twitter account. The Facebook link is not active at all. It's just sitting there. You want to make sure these things are working or take them off the page if you're not going to have those set up. These little things can have a bigger impact on your visitors and the way they think about your website and look at your company. So you want to make sure all the links are working, everything is functional, so that people, are not distracted by what's not working on your website. Let's see here. I also had a note on, where was that? Okay, under in-home care. There we go. These images here, like this download ebook, I would recommend, this is a case where the image has text in it, I would recommend just having the image be the book and taking this text out of the image and putting it into actual paragraph text in the HTML code so that the search engines can find that. Download our latest ebook. That's a pretty important thing for search engines to recognize that you have downloadable stuff on your web page. Then I was also kind of, oh yeah, you could do the same thing with request a catalog over here. Just have a picture of the catalog and take the text out and put it next to it so that the search engines can see the text. You could do the same thing with the contact us image over here. I'm not sure what this woman's arms crossed are, what that has to do with anything, so you might want to take that away to help clean up the page a little bit and give it a more polished look. As far as your blog goes, a couple things you could do to enhance that. Instead of having these Twitter and Facebook links up here, there are plugins for WordPress you can install that allow you to add these little icons in, like at the top of each blog post that say retweet and say like on Facebook, and it'll actually show you the number of retweets or people that have clicked the like button. And you can have those show up on every blog post. Studies have shown that it's good for those to be at the top of the blog post underneath the title here instead of down at the bottom. And that people actually do use those, and those are a good way for your content to get shared out on Facebook and out on Twitter, and thus get more traffic to your website and people discussing you. And this is a great kind of thing to have here, a recipe. It may not have much to do with Ivory House Health Services, but it's a helpful article. It is valuable content. People would want to return here to find this recipe. And any kind of recipe is pretty much chock full of keywords. You have all these great keywords in here. They may not have that much to do with home health services, but it's still a pretty good thing to have. You wouldn't want to create every blog post to be a recipe. You definitely want to sprinkle it with some other issues related to your service and your industry and articles and such. But that kind of thing is good to have. It's a good, valuable thing that people would be looking for and that search engines can latch onto and people would create links to or share in email or share on their websites, that sort of thing. Again, the 404 errors on this site were not quite set up correctly. If I type in a fake page name here, I'm getting the default IIS help page, and IIS is the web server that this blog or this website is running on. It's actually the correct 404 error, but WordPress has the ability to handle 404 errors itself, so that instead of being taken to an ugly error page, you could have your own web page, and right here in the main content area it would say error 404, whatever you're looking for is not here. Please try the search box or using the menu or that sort of thing. Instead of taking people to an ugly 404 page, you can use WordPress's built-in 404 error handling. Another advantage of using WordPress for your website. Something else I would recommend on this site and on any website really, especially pages that have a lot of content like this that involve a lot of scrolling to get to. Down here in the footer is a great place to put your main navigation menu again, so that people don't have to scroll all the way back up to the top. And search engines find those links again, and it just helps people get around, and it helps search engines get around on your website. So you could include these main navigation items back down in your footer. It's also a great place to have your, oh, you do have it, yeah, your address and your contact info on every page of the website. Okay, any questions before I go to the next one?
No questions.
Okay. All right, next was Navicare. This was given to me as navicare.org, which when you go to it, it redirects you to this longer URL. And I think this is like the first site we looked at where it's part of a parent company. And you're going to have the same problems with trying to optimize your content for the search engines that the other site was going to have. Unless you can get your own domain name and target all of your search engine efforts towards that, you're really not going to be able to do too much, unfortunately. This woman looks like my next door neighbor, which is really, I think it is my next door neighbor, but I doubt it. So if it's all possible to get a separate website, base it on your location or your service area, that would allow you to actually do a good amount of search engine optimization and take advantage of what we've been talking about today. Any questions on that or this site?
No questions on that site.
Okay. Next, Optimum Senior Care. This site looks like it's pretty well complete and on many search engine optimization ways. A lot of good on-page text, keywords. It has a video right up here on the front of the website, which is a great thing to do, not only for your visitors, but it helps encourage inbound, or it helps encourage people to come back and look at your video and to link to it, and to it gives you the opportunity to associate keywords with this video when you embed it on your page, and those are all great things. Google has been placing some amount of importance on websites that have videos on their homepage, and you actually can see sometimes when you do searches in Google, sometimes you'll get result pages with the actual link to the video that is on a website's homepage right there in the search results. And that in and of itself is just a great way to stand out on the search results page. So if you have video on your site, it's a great thing because that can help separate you from the pack on the Google results pages, especially if Google decides to feature that video in the results. One thing I did notice up here in the title tag, this is pretty long. Google's not going to get farther than about halfway through that whole title tag. So I would break these keywords out. These are great keywords for this company and for what kind of business this is. But I would break these out more, figure out which ones are being searched for most, and use one of them in this title tag. For example, home care, Chicago. That would be a great one for the home page. Go to your services page and use one of the other ones, such as in-home caregivers, Chicago. Spread these out across the pages of your website more, because you're kind of throwing them all into one basket here that Google's only going to look through half of. And that's true with most of the other search engines as well. They're not going to look at this whole title tag. Some of the code behind the scenes on this website, it was getting a little bulky, and you could definitely do some things to clean up the code here, such as putting this JavaScript in an external file so that the search engine spiders don't have to wade through it. Some of this HTML is actually invalid as far as what type of HTML you're telling the page it is. These tags that are in uppercase, for example, need to be changed to lowercase. Things just to kind of spruce up the code and clean it up a little bit so that the search engines aren't going to look at it and think that it's a problem at all. You can take some of this JavaScript stuff that's loading inside your HTML tags here and redo that in a way that is the search engines don't have to look at, the spiders don't have to look at. some of this code is also could be cleaned up. Some of these tables, instead of using tables, there's no reason you can't use cascading style sheets these days to position the content on your website. This table HTML should be left for using when you have an actual table with tabular data. For example, a chart or a graph or something with data inside of it. Some of the style declarations, such as how much margin your tags have, your H4 tags, that should be taken out and put inside of an external style sheet. And that may not seem like much, but when you do this 24 times for all the tags on this page, it's going to greatly reduce the weight of the code on the page. And that's going to make sure that Google and the other search engines get down to the actual content more quickly, and they can find what actually matters, which is this text down here. What else here? Oh, I noticed down here in the footer you have this little W icon, which is the WordPress icon, and I clicked on that, and that took me to a blog page. It looks like you do have WordPress running here under optimumseniorcare.com/blog. I would put the rest of your website into WordPress. Again, it offers so much in the way of search engine optimization and great ways to interact with your visitors, to interact with social media services, to provide search engine optimized code and stuff out of the box, that to have WordPress just running here just to do your blog is kind of throwing away the potential. So I would strongly consider creating a theme, getting help creating a custom theme if you like the way that this is all designed, and putting it into your WordPress installation that is running just the blog, from what I can tell. Because this actually looks like a separate website, which could be confusing to people. And you're also, I didn't see any links to the blog anywhere other than way down here in the footer on this W, which you might want to reconsider so that people can actually find the blog more easily. Put it up here in the main menu if you can. Maybe it's under one of these sub ones I didn't notice, but make it a little more prominent. And definitely consider putting your entire website into WordPress. Any questions on that one?
Yes, we had a question on the videos. Is it important to put those on the home page, or can you put it on any of the pages? Does that make any difference?
Putting a video, I would put one on the home page for sure. You don't want to clutter up your home page with a bunch of videos, but having one on the home page increases the chances that you will have that video appear in the search results listings on Google. You can definitely add more videos somewhere else, to house past videos, or your video library or whatever. But I would definitely try to include a video on your home page if you can, and that could be a video of a commercial if you have one on TV, which I think this is, or a video just of your CEO talking about what you do and why you should buy your services and that sort of thing, or interviewing happy clients. Anything that provides a video on your home page is just a great way to helping increase your search engine ranking potential.
We have just a couple of minutes left. I don't know if you wanted to tackle one more site quickly, or. Well, you know what? I actually have another question that just popped up.
Go ahead.
Is WordPress a software or a web tool?
Good question. WordPress is software that you install on your web host server. It is basically, it's called a content management system. It's a tool that allows you to, once it's set up and once you have a theme developed that looks the way you want it to look, it enables people with no web design or programming skills to be able to administer a website, to be able to add pages, change the content, upload pictures, that sort of thing. If you know how to post a picture to your Facebook wall, or you know how to, do bold and italic text in Microsoft Word, it's pretty easy to pick up WordPress. And we do actually some some WordPress webinars, Core Cubed does. I'm not sure if those are available in our past webinars from our website or not, but if so, you could check those out. And then, contact us, and I'd be happy to give you an overview of what WordPress is and what it can do in more depth if you'd like.
So if somebody wanted to convert their current site into a WordPress design, can they take their current design and transfer it to a WordPress?
That can be done, absolutely. And we do that a lot, actually, here at Core Cubed, and it's one of my favorite things to do. It does involve some amount of recoding behind the scenes of your website so that it will work in WordPress and that it becomes a WordPress theme. But once that's done and implemented, you then have the ability to update your website yourself and add pages and add content and everything we've talked about.
Well, that was the last question, and I have 3 o'clock. So,
okay.
Oh, wait, one last question just came in. If somebody had a website that they had wanted us to look at and we didn't get a chance to look at it, can you email them or contact them with regards to their site?
Yes, I can actually. I have a half dozen or so sites here that we did not get to today, and I have notes typed up on them. So I can send you my notes and follow up with you if you like.
All right, and that is it. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us today on this webinar. If you have any questions after today or want to contact us, you can email Will at will.chatham, CHATHAM, at corecubed.com, or you can send it to info@corecubed.com. Our 800 number is 800-370-6580, and you can get us through there as well. Thanks again, and everyone have a great rest of your day.
Thank you all.